This is Governor Bobber. I like good day, doctors.
George Allen here. Good day, doctors.
Hey, this is Governor Chris Christie from New Jersey. Good day, doctors.
Go! You're watching Dr. Politics.
It is Friday, August 2nd. Summer is in its last throes, although I think we had another 100-degree day today. But it's August. All of the DMVs on vacation, but we're still here. Less than 100 days to Election Day now.
Yeah, I mean we're in race. The race is on. It is going to be a sprint to the finish.
Yeah, and I wonder, I think the biggest question is, who is Kamala going to have as her running mate? Is it going to be Josh Shapiro, which I don't think so, because I think her base would go in open revolt if she picks Josh Shapiro. So I think it's going to be either Andy Beshear or Mark Kelly, and I would probably lean a little bit towards Kelly because Kelly, one, he doesn't really have presidential ambition. Well, Beshear, I think the reason Cooper said no is they both, and I think Beshear, if you were smart, or if even Shapiro, if I were advising any of them not to do it, just hang out for 4 years, because Kamala's not going to win. Hang around 4 years, start raising money, do a campaign in 4 years for president. Right now, they have to defend the Biden-Harris record, which is dismal, to put it mildly, frankly. Everything from the Afghanistan withdrawal to giving away terrorists in exchange for prisoners, to their lukewarm response in defense of Israel, where the Democrat base is out of touch with the mainstream of America, where their base is, I'll just say, they're anti-Semitic, frankly, if you ask me. They want to see the end of the state of Israel. I mean, just today I saw people posting, very liberal people posting on Facebook that Bibi's a war criminal because, and I'm thinking I think the war criminals there are Hamas, Hezbollah, Iran, not Bibi and Yahoo, frankly. But they're out of touch. The base of the Democratic Party is a bunch of anti-Semites at their core, frankly.
Yeah. So on the VP pick, I mean, no one really knows for sure. If there's anyone who's maybe campaigning for it, it looks like it's Tim Walz, who's been really at the forefront of a lot of things. He's been out there kind of talking up the whole Harris candidacy and everything like that. So he's been a strong spokesperson so far for the Harris campaign. Yeah, I mean, Mark Kelly would be an interesting pick. I mean, he has won election as a senator in Arizona.
Yep.
He bucks part of the thing for Harris is to determine, is this someone she wants who's aligned with her on all issues, or is willing to spread the table a little bit, because Kelly's pretty strong on the border.
Mhm.
whereas Biden and Harris were not.
Well, Harris now is for some border.
Yeah, now, but I mean,
She's doing her flip flops.
yeah,
She's
but
doing her best impression of John Kerry.
yeah, I mean, but Kelly was the one who got the administration to pony up some money to plug the holes in
Mhm.
the border wall in Yuma and stuff like that. So, he brings a contrast there. Shapiro, I mean, Jewish vice presidential candidate. That right now would definitely elicit a lot of howls from the far left, I think. Uh,
Mhm.
the other thing too is that he's kind of big, when it comes to kind of the whole school choice, school voucher thing. So he runs directly in opposition to the teachers unions, so they would be howling. So that would be a tough Harris pick there, and you mentioned like Roy Cooper, who apparently wants his name pronounced Cupper, of all things. But I wonder with some of these guys, whether do they want to be on a ticket,
It's Cooper.
may lose, uh, rather than run on their own, in 4 years when the slate is clean and they're not tied to a losing candidate. But it's kind of hard to tell. I mean, Kamala's got a lot of momentum right now, so there are no guarantees about who wins or who loses this election right now.
Yeah, but we do. I'm just thinking like she runs out of gas after once we get to September because it's going to be tough defending this record of Joe Biden. I mean, if you look at, there is nothing they can point to. What was the jobs numbers today? What is it? $50,000, 50,000, 60,000 jobs under below what they projected.
Yeah, it was like 114. I think they were estimating 175.
Yeah,
So
and
so as you say, so the jobless rate's now been going up, right? It's been ticking up the last few months. So that's kind of problematic. And then you see the stock market react to that because they look down the line and say, does that mean there's a recession coming? Potentially. They don't really know what's happening right now. They don't like the way that looks. But where this is kind of like inflation, or and also like the budget deficit, right? So for a while, for a short period of time, Biden was out there talking about how they had lowered the budget deficit, right? And but part of that was that was kind of that was coming off of a lot of COVID spending under Trump. So the numbers were going to get better because the numbers were way out of whack after all that government COVID spending. So that's not even an apples to apples comparison. Then he tried to talk about how inflation is going down and things like that without talking about the fact that where prices had gone up so much already that people were already getting squeezed to the limit. So and trying to do Bidenomics, which had a very short shelf life. uh, so they've got all these little things going on here, and I've been talking for a long time about jobs and unemployment numbers and things like that. And the employment numbers were looking pretty good, but now that where things are kind of getting back into focus, kind of they're almost returning to normal in the economy. The unemployment rate, more people are looking for jobs. There's not as many jobs that what the people want to fill, companies want to fill. So now the jobless rate is ticking up. They don't really have that as another, tool in their toolbox to say, look at what we've done. So one thing after another, seems to be falling apart for them. And as you point out, they have a record, and this is what Trump and Vance have got to focus on. Don't worry about personal attacks. Focus on all the bad stuff, all the failures of Biden and Harris, and you win.
And it's and with they're touting inflation. All they've done is they were getting Fs with 40%. Now they're getting Fs with 55%. They're still failing, but they're saying, "Hey, look, we're going the right direction. We're at 55. Give us another 4 years. We might get to 60. We might become solid D students, from being F students. The whole, you've got inflation. I mean, how do you go to a grocery store? I remember, you and I both remember the 1992 presidential campaign where the liberal media mocked President Bush for buying $3 pair of socks at the J.C. Penney on his way back from Camp David. They mocked the fact that the president didn't know what a loaf of bread cost or a gallon of milk. And come on, Lunch Bucket Joe and Kamala, what do you even know what the price of a loaf of bread is, and a gallon of milk, a dozen eggs, a pound of ground beef, it's like, or chicken or whatever, or the cost of a russet potato is $2 a pound. I remember russet potatoes were like 50 cents a pound, Don.
Yeah, my wife and I were at IKEA today because she wanted to get something, and IKEA is, I don't know. They're probably the master of shopping, marketing kind of thing like that, because you're basically forced to walk through the entire store to get to.
You got to go through the whole. I think it's a racket. You got to go through the entire maze to get out.
Yeah, it's like they have these signs up that say like shortcut to the exit. Not much of a shortcut. It's like, come on. It's like, this is a shortcut. But it's a smart thing because Young was looking for that shortcut, and we're going along there, and then we hit a section. She goes, "Oh, let's stop here." Right?
Mm-hmm.
If there was a true shortcut, she never would have seen that section. Right? So, but they're good because people pick stuff up, and it increases the number of things people buy, and that's good for them, and everything like that. But some of the things that she likes to buy is not just the stuff, the merchandise stuff, a bag or the stuffed animals, toys, or whatever, that kind of stuff like that. But sometimes it's right at the end where you have the little food section. So and I agree with her, she likes that lingonberry jam that they have.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And she's looking at it today, and she goes, that was something that she really wanted to buy, but she couldn't pull the trigger because she saw the price today, and it was $5.79. And I said, so how much was it before? She says, we used to pay $3.99 for this. So we're talking about a 45% increase in the jam. One of the other things she likes to buy is this Swedish meatball kind of mix thing that they sell. And there was a time when it was 99 cents. Then it popped to $1.50 somewhere along the line. She said, even now from $1.50, which wasn't terribly long ago, it's now like $1.69. So it's still up another 10+% even since that time.
Look at this. This is a package of cookies. It's smaller than they used to be. They used to be about this size, which now they call that the family size. Nothing too special. These are standard cookies. And this, they've got a racket. If you buy 4 of them, you can get them for $2 each. Otherwise, it's like $3.99 each. Oreo has their limited edition cookie packages. I suppose you're supposed to buy them and not eat them and just keep them sealed, I guess. But they got this mint chocolate chip $5.99. It's like a small pack for those. Granted, it's double stuffed, but it's insane how, these are things that used to be $1.99, and you get them on sale for like $1.50, and now you get them on sale for about $2, and then you got to buy 4 of them. You can't just buy 1 pack for $2. You got to buy 4 of them. They do that with chips. 1 pack of chips is $4.99, or you could buy like 6 packs for $2.49. They force you to buy, more chips, more stuff than you want. And it goes and people are seriously now cutting back on stuff like that. Luxury items, like chips, or I don't like to think of chips and cookies as being a luxury item,
Yeah.
but they kind of have become like a luxury item,
Yeah, I mean, they're probably more like impulse buys or stuff like that. But you know, it gets harder, right? I mean, so one of my weaknesses for years has been the brownie brittle,
Mhm.
that Costco will annually, and has for years, have had an annual thing. They bring a ton of it into the stores, and it was buy one get one, and
Mhm.
so you know the price had been creeping up on the buy one get one, right? But I totally resisted this last time around
The
because
bags are smaller now.
it was no longer buy one get one. It was now
Yeah.
like 250 off or whatever.
Yeah.
Because they're now up to like $8 a bag or whatever.
Yeah. And they're smaller. The bags are smaller too. It's not even the bags are smaller. If you look at remember you used to be able to buy a jar of Jelly Bellies for, I think, what was it, $10, $8, something like that. Now they got them out of the jar. They put them in a vacuum sealed bag, where I think you're getting less and you're paying more.
So I think there are a couple of things. Well, there are a few things that we know that haven't changed. Costco, the $4.99 rotisserie chicken, right?
Mhm.
That has stayed the
Although they
same.
changed the packaging, people don't like the new
I
packaging.
know that packaging is horrible. I hate that packaging because
I'm assuming it leaks because it's in a bag opposed to a tin as it was before.
yeah, I
right?
think some people had some problems with that. They don't like it. I don't know. I mean,
Costco's pizza is still a bargain.
the Costco food court, the soda hot dog deal, which is just, I can't imagine how much money they lose off of those items there. Trader Joe's sells Mandarin orange chicken, right? That's like $4.99. That hasn't changed in years. So we kind of look at that as that must be kind of like the Costco chicken. It's kind of a loss leader that people love that chicken, that particular product, and it draws them in to buy the other stuff. So there are a few things like that have stayed the same without shrinking the package size, but that's few and far between because inflation has eroded the profits of the companies. So if they don't increase the prices, then they don't make any money. It's unfortunate that we've come to this where we've seen milk, eggs, bread skyrocket in price, and reach a new kind of base level where like it's not going to be. I was thinking the other day. I remember going to Indiana a few years ago, when they were kind of having a milk price war between the Walmart and the Aldi. 99 cents a gallon, right?
Yep.
Never going to see that again. We will never see that again.
Whole Foods used to do, I think they always did it once in the summer. Milk was like 99 cents or 50 cents for a gallon. It was like ridiculously cheap. The price of milk.
Yeah.
And
it's like the snacks you show. Yeah. Cost more, packages are smaller. You begin to wonder how much smaller they can make them and how much more. But we are seeing pushback, right? I mean, consumers are saying we can't do this anymore. I mean, McDonald's, they put together a $5 meal to try to combat, and keep up with the competition. I mean, Wendy's has had a $5 meal for a while. Burger King's jumped in, so they're trying to find a way to give something. They're not going to make much money off of that, but they can keep drawing people in.
Also, you notice they got rid of all their dollar. Nobody has a dollar menu anymore.
Yeah, nobody has a true dollar. I mean, that's why. I mean, McDonald's is what? It's the 1, 2, 3 menu, right?
Yeah.
And I don't even know. Is there anything really on that menu that's $1 anymore?
Maybe the cookies at McDonald's. Maybe the cookies.
I don't remember. I can't remember. So I think.
Hey, Chris, if you're watching, let me know if cookies at McDonald's.
I think there's some. I think on the dollar side, it's not like a dollar even. It's not like where we had things that were a dollar even. Now it's like the dollar the dollar menu means it's between $1 and $2.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 1, 2, 3 is if it's between 2 and 3, and the 3 is between 3 and 4.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like it's kind of a dollar. But I mean, there's a lot of things I don't know if you remember store McCrory's and GC Murphy's. You could use McCrory's, you could buy mechanical pencils that'd be like at Visual Systems, they'd sell for $2 because they were Visual Systems, frankly. But you could buy them at McCrory's, exact same mechanical pencil made by Pentel, same people that sell them at Visual Systems, for about 75 cents, So it's that's true. Their prices. Those stores just would not be able to survive. And look at all the dollar stores. They're now $1.75 stores. And there's it's crazy, And basically, I think we're going to see the dollar store become the $5 store if Kamala Harris is elected president. We're going to see $5. All the dollar stores are going to become the $5 stores.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say that electing Donald Trump means that inflation gets cured and right away or anything like that. I mean, I think he could also bring in inflationary policies and stuff like that because we're there now. Now you have to try to beat it back, and that's a tough road to hoe. But hopefully he if he gets elected, he will find good advisors that will really try to do something about it. I mean, one thing we know that Harris will raise taxes. Where Trump is still more likely to push for keeping tax cuts in place. I'm still on the fence about the tariffs. I mean, the Biden administration kept a lot of the tariffs. Some of the tariffs probably worked a little bit, but I think the tariffs tend to be somewhat inflationary because it does push the cost of goods up to the consumer here. Especially as long as we're continuing to buy large amounts of material, stuff from China. So that's a little bit problematic, but and not as free market as we would want as conservatives. But maybe that's the new paradigm here, or whatever we've got, is that tariffs are kind of here to stay, and we have to figure out how to make that work in today's economy.
And I think also China's economy is sliding too. It's not. They're kind of on that. They're on that proverbial slippery slope, sliding down. And the stuff in China, this Chinese-made products are like really bad. I mean, if you go to Microsoft, you buy the inline brand, it's their house brand. It's all made in China, and the stuff's really cheap. You'll get maybe a year and a half, maybe 2-3 years use out. Then you're gonna have to throw it away and buy another one. Well, if you buy, say, something that's like made in, like some other brand that may be made in Japan or South Korea, Taiwan, or Vietnam, or made in. Then I don't think we make any of those little component things anymore in the U.S. But the stuff lasts a lot longer. I mean, I've got a Microsoft brand thumb drive. This one I've had probably for a good 5 years almost. And this one is probably not made in China. If it was not so hard to read, probably would say made in Taiwan, I bet. I think, electing President Trump will slow things down. I think the Fed has talked about now cutting interest rates, which is good news, I think, frankly, if they do cut rates in September. But I wonder if that's not just Janet Yellen election year trying to help Kamala get elected president.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily think that cutting rates in September is a bad thing or is necessarily a political thing in general, but I think it can be turned into a political thing because it could give the campaign a little bit of a boost, considering that other economic forces and news is not so good, right? if the Fed cuts, like 50 basis points in September, well, that means they'll be month and a half out, whatever it is, from the election, and then mortgage rates will have come down by about that amount. So that, I mean, purchases will get a little more affordable. Credit card interest rates won't adjust that fast because they're going to want the banks are going to want to see more long term results there and see the rates tick down more before they even consider pushing down credit
Mhm.
card interest rates. But the that would be good for a lot of people to see that. Though the flip side is that for people who've been looking at 4.5 to 5% money market high yield savings accounts, that interest is going to go down with it. Every
Yep.
so if you're counting on that income, you better readjust what your priorities and your schedule there, because it's going to change that way too. Your interest income will drop as a result of that. But that's the thing that always kind of happens along the way. Um, yeah, we'll have to wait and see how this all turns out.
I mean, also the car industry is upside down. Remember when you could sell your used car for more than you paid for, about the same price what you paid for? Those days are gone. I think the what is it? Allied is just stopped lending, giving out car loans now. Allied Financial, and I stopped getting, and that's the old GMAC. Uh, it's gonna be, and people are now getting. I thought it was kind of weird when people did 60-month financing on a car. People are now doing not 72 months, but they're doing 84-month finances. I mean, some of these cars, what are you going to do? A 30-year mortgage on these cars?
Yeah, I mean, you're already considering new cars lose so much value when you drive it off the lot from a dealer,
Mhm,
and then you're paying interest, you know,
mhm.
on top of that. So you easily wind up paying a lot more for the car. A car is not a house, right? I mean, it's not a necessity.
It's not going to go up in value.
It's not really going to go up in value. It's always going to depreciate, in general. So yeah, the 84-month thing, I always thought when I first saw that, I thought you've got to, that is because the mentality in America is they focus on the dollar value of the amount of the car payment, not the interest rate and the total payments they will make over the life of the loan, right? So they're looking at, I can afford to pay $250 a month for a car, so a dealer will find a way to sell them a car for 250 a month, but it may take a 7-year loan to get to that price for the
Yep.
car. They can do it.
And a 7-year loan, that's crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
I thought 60 months was kind of, out of the ordinary. 18 to 36 is what I thought was typical if you wanted to buy, do a loan on a car, is 18 to 36 months. Um, but I mean, 7 years, I mean, your car is 7 years old at the time you pay it off, and it's not going to be, what do you call it? Is it still going to, if you've taken care of it, yes, it'll be in decent shape. But if you don't take care of it, you know, um, it's not going to last you. You're going to be, and if you buy an EV, let's say, the battery dies in 7 years, you're basically, in essence, your car has been totaled because the battery replacement costs more than the car at that point.
Yeah. Batteries are very, very expensive to repair an EV, particularly a Tesla high end type of stuff, is very
Mhm.
expensive. So, but people don't think like that. I mean, part of the problem with the way the economy's gone too is that with inflation, people have been pinched. So there's been a
Mhm.
spike in repossessions of cars
Yep.
that people bought and things like that when they got all that pandemic cash and stuff like that. So we see a lot more of these things happening as a result of the policies that are out there, and yeah, I mean, I don't even know how to describe some of the things that are going on in this economy, but it now seems to be getting a little bit worse. And to Susan's point, I mean, I think a lot of us would like to buy American. There's just not necessarily all the things that we want that are made in America, right?
Hmm.
Um, but when you say China's economy, which I've been suspicious for years about the numbers that China puts out, because we're talking about China, right? It's like this. It's like listening to it's basically like you know the Ministry of
It's
Health.
kind of like those old Joe Isuzu commercials from the '80s when he would be pushing, the Zuzus, where he can't tell the truth of his life depended on.
Yeah. No, we know that the numbers out of the Ministry of Health about what's happened in Gaza and things like that are suspect, right? Because
Yeah.
it's they're reporting it, uh, and they're trying to make Israel look bad. China wants to look good, so they had kept propping up these numbers, but there's only so much they can do with that, and they're just they've had a collapse of their real estate market. They can't hide all the empty apartment buildings and all the things that are going on there, and just the general malaise that's happening in China. So they're having trouble, uh, but that in a sense that may help the Buy American movement, because if that means that factories have to pay more to attract workers, because I mean virtually every country is having a population problem. There's not enough live births to sustain the economies of virtually every country around the world. That you know what do? You pay more to find more people. You bring in more people. You do whatever you can, but it pushes the cost up. Um, and that's we've seen California is a great example for the rest of the states about what happens when you push minimum wage up. Is that you squeeze businesses and they're like, we can't operate here. We are now going to, you now need to use a kiosk, or we're going to find another way. I think Chevron just announced that they're leaving California for Texas, you know, so that's a big one. Chevron's been there forever. Uh, so that's a big blow to California to lose that. And I was thinking about all this automation. I mean, IKEA, and go back to IKEA. Yeah, when we get to the checkout, I'm looking around. I'm like, it's only self checkout. There is
Hmm.
not a cashier in sight.
Yep.
It's all self checkout. When I went to Taco Bell for the first time in weeks, a few weeks ago, I walk in, and I had already ordered online, but I walked in and I'm like, the sign at the counter says, "Use the kiosks," and I'm like,
Oh yeah. The other
yeah,
day I went to the cafeteria at NASA. They've gone cashless. You know, and I'm thinking like, people. I know people. Most people don't carry cash anymore because of a safety issue and all that. But I mean, come on, you should be taking a little bit of cash. I mean, next thing you know, when I go to the gift shop, they're like, "Oh, we don't take cash anymore." It's just become very, And I mean, if you I don't know if you've gone to the Amazon Fresh stores, they've taken the whole process. Fine. Not only they got rid of the checkers, you can actually just put your credit card plug it into into the cart, and you scan stuff in your cart as you put it in. You just roll right out, And
I think they're actually gonna open the one on Shady Grove. Apparently, I think it was at the
yeah,
Motor
I heard
Show.
that too. They're going to be
There
opening
was
that up.
activity there after they had built that up and then just pulled the plug. They said
Yeah,
there was activity over there. It's like, I'll be very curious because I'd like to go in there and just kind of check it out and
yeah. I
see.
go to the one in Chevy Chase, which is, I got what I like about going to Chevy Chase is this: you go there and you get to you're in that store, right? And it's never crowded, which is what I like. I'm never waiting in line. That's what I like. The fact that And look, you go then again, if you go to the Safeway or Giant, all that stuff has also been taken out. If you think about it, um, you go there, they've taken out, and now I noticed this at the Safeway just the other day. They got a sign there. The self checkout is 9 items or less. The Giant had that earlier, but now even Safeway's doing that. I think that's probably to combat a lot of their shoplifting and supermarket theft, where people forget to scan stuff that's in the cart.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of trying to reduce the shrink in the store,
Mhm.
and
Yep.
also to speed up the self checkout process, because people, it is kind of ridiculous if people show up to the self checkout with like 30 items, right?
Mhm.
Because not some people are very slow using the self checkout, and
Mhm.
so it bogs that down. The part of the idea behind self checkout is that it's supposed to be speedy checkout,
Yep.
and it's not going to be very speedy, if people are bringing a ton of items to
Yes.
the
Or
self check.
letting their kids do the checkout for them.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
not cute.
I would be perfectly fine if Costco put in the same policy for self checkout as had, say, 15 items or less or whatever, and enforce that to make that a speedy process.
Also, it would also speed up the process if they put more of those. If they would let, because right now, if you buy big stuff at Costco's, and usually someone's always there to help you, and they scan the stuff that's wrong. If they put those scanner guns there for you to use, like Safeway and Giant does, that would also speed up the process. You can zap the stuff in your cart. It's not like there are any bags there at Costco's.
Yeah, I
You
know. The thing about that, that's I think there's one thing about Costco, because I mean, you can go to Sam's Club and
Mhm.
all their self checkouts have a gun, right?
Mhm.
And you basically scan everything with the gun. I mean, that's actually the way theirs works.
Mhm.
So, when you have that, it, you know, it, it so like one of the things too. I
Hey,
mean,
Susan, they're also asking you to leave a tip too with the self checkouts. Would you like
yeah,
to tip?
sometimes some places. Well, I mean, we've gone to 3 Costco. This is like the craziest part of my week, though, is that we wound up going to 3 different Costcos in the last 6 days.
Oh
We
wow.
we had we had lunch with some friends of ours over at a Korean barbecue place in Wheaton Plaza.
Mhm.
I'm still going to call it Wheaton Plaza, which actually happens to be right around the corner from where the Costco is, right? So
Yeah.
after that, we went to go into the Costco to go pick up a couple of things. So that was Costco number one. Then, because my wife had been watching some videos about some potential bargains at Costco, clearance items. Now, clearance
Mhm.
items are, they're hit and miss, store to store, right? Uh,
Mhm.
so she got intrigued by that. So we drove out to Columbia. Now, I got her to go to Columbia, or kind of there was a trade off there. So there's a fast food place called Raising Cane's chicken
Yeah.
place. So I
Yeah.
wanted to go there because I had some stuff loaded on my card that I wanted. So it was like, okay. And she likes that. She's one of the few fast food places Young will actually eat at.
Mhm.
So Raising Cane's for lunch, drive down the road to Costco to go look for more stuff. So we did that. And then this morning, she's the same. It's kind of like, do you want to go shopping? And she's thinking about, oh, but it's so hot. But she wanted to go to IKEA in Beltsville, right over there, Route 1. So
Oh,
we
that
went
is
to
the
the
worst
Costco down there.
Costco's.
So we hit 3 Costcos. I am now $610 or something like that poorer for hitting the 3 Costcos. A lot of stuff that was on sale. So they had Costco in Wheaton had a 22 quart cooler by Coho. It's a weird cooler because it's just got this one little size. It's really small on the inside as far as I'm concerned. And I kind of rejected that when we were in Wheaton. It was a
Yeah.
$60. I'm like, I don't know about that. I thought I wanted something that had more room in it. Well, we get to Beltsville, and the same coolers there. It's
Mhm.
$20 cheaper on a markdown, right?
Really?
Yeah, and I'm like, we bought one, and we're walking through the parking lot, and Young is like, she says she's doing the math. She says, a big one, about the same size costs like twice as much as you would pay on this price. So she had me go back in and buy a second cooler today, right?
I
And,
hope the lines weren't that long.
line was a little longer the second time in the self checkout because she was in the car. She was thinking like, "Where the heck is he?"
Yeah.
But I got through there nevertheless. And those are the things that happened. But going back to Susan says like she's a human checker. When we were in Colombia, Young did find a couple of things that were marked down that were on sale.
Hmm.
And when she hit the checkout counter, right, they were not in the computer system. So she was watching, and they called the manager over to fix it, and everything like that. So if it would have really gummed up the works a lot more had she been in self checkout, because they don't, they have a little help, but then I think that's more problematic than if you're in the regular line.
Also, the Costco's checks they sent you at home, you can't use those in self checkout. Yeah, they sent you like $100 check, $200
Oh
check.
yeah. You got you can't. I mean, there's things you cannot do at self checkout. Okay, there's that you have to find other ways of doing that. And yeah, I mean, I don't. That's a whole nother thing too, because we get two different checks: one for the executive membership rebate, and the other one for the credit card rebate. But rather than I don't. I rarely. I only use the credit card occasionally when for gas. I have another 2% card, which is the same value as the as the Costco one, and I get that money back every month. So I use that at Costco instead of the city Costco card. But
Yeah.
I had the executive membership one. I basically use that to pay my membership the next year, and then get the difference on a gift card, shop card, because
Oh,
they
they
don't.
let you do that?
Yeah, because they don't cash that card. They don't that check. You cannot cash out. But
In the old days, you used to be able to deposit. You could just deposit that check into your account in the old days.
yeah, well, somebody told me that there's some kind of an option where you can get like one of these checks sent to you electronically, and I have never seen that option. You know, it may be with the Citibank, because they usually have most of your banking information anyway. Maybe with the Citibank rebate, you can get it, deposit electronically, but I don't know how that happens. I guess I should call up and say, can you just, electronically send it to me? Because that takes care of a lot of fuss and muss. Because I'll go and I'll go line up and say, I just want to cash this out, and the human checkers, they do not like me.
Yeah, and what's funny is they're not. The store checkout people are not as friendly. Like when I go to the Giant on Rockville Pike, I like going to the checkers. I like having conversation with them. And they really do. In the old days, you could have a conversation. Now they don't even talk. I think they're told now, don't talk to the people because you just slow things down. I think that's what it is.
Oh, I'm sure it has a lot to do with it. I mean, I'm sure the people who work at Costco are really nice, but the thing is that look at the lines, look at the volume that they do. You've got to move people through quickly. There, you have no choice. You have no time
Yeah.
no time except for thank you and hello and stuff like that. And that's about it. Once in a while, once in a while, a checker or somebody sometimes they'll like, "Ooh, that's a good price," and we're like, "Yeah, this is a good product," or something. But that's about the length of the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And
I tell you, the Florida Costco's I go to, the one there, the lines aren't as bad. Maybe it's because it's new and they don't have. And there's a bunch of Sam's within, like 3 or 4 different Sam's within like 10 minutes of each other. People don't. People haven't switched over to Costco's yet, but there I can go in the middle of the day and get in and out pretty fast. Although I haven't gone on a Saturday, so I can't. That could be different.
So maybe we ought to spend the rest of our time on some other news.
Yeah, I know. We got some. There's some.
I have David in my head thinking like it takes us most of the hour before we get to other news.
Yeah, I mean, Israel was hit by Hezbollah terrorists this week. They basically took out. They sent that Hezbollah leader to hell. Frankly, they also took out another leader in Iran. And I am really irritated. A lot of Americans are like calling him a war criminal for this. Have these kids today or people of my generation, have they forgotten the Marine barracks bombing? Have they forgotten the Khobar Towers? Have they forgotten the hostages in Iran? Have they forgotten the first attack on the World Trade Center? Have they forgotten 9/11? I mean, these are all the same people. Basically is that they're all backed by Iran. Iran is sponsoring Hezbollah, Hamas, the Palestinians, the Houthis in Yemen, and all the radical groups are being funded by Iran, which Joe Biden and Kamala Harris gave them millions of dollars so they could conduct more acts of terror. And
yeah, I mean, you're right. Look, I mean, the thing is too, right? I mean, so the Biden administration, with these targeted attacks that Israel has had on the Hezbollah leaders, and they haven't claimed that they made the attack in Iran on the Hamas leader. No one apparently still claimed that one, but the administration has basically, tried to discourage any kind of retaliation for that attack that Hezbollah had on Israel, right? So it's kind of like, who are you supporting? Just as you said, have they forgotten the history? It's like Israel has to defend itself. I don't know. The world is not going to miss these horrible, horrible people. I don't, I can't, I'm not in favor of killing people. I mean, it's not something I would do, but I understand. I mean, when you're in war, you need to do what you think to get rid of the people that are killing your people that are responsible for that. So I have no problem eliminating these people on a very strategic basis. And that's what, this is what Israel has been doing, right? They've been trying as best as they can to have strategic, targeted attacks, on this. Except that the left, any attack is just, oh, this is horrible. Bibi's a war criminal. Israel's terrible. Completely forgetting who attacked who and who started the thing 301 days ago now.
Yep.
So, that just, the memory is short term. They just look at certain things there, and and Harris. I mean, her husband is Jewish, and I don't think that Trump needed to call him a bad Jew or anything like that. He does. That was kind of beyond there, but. She is definitely, going to try to continue the Biden policy, right, on Israel, which has really not been overly supportive of Israel.
No, it has not. I mean, they've been very bad when it comes to Israel. They've he's condemned Bibi more than he's condemned the Palestinians or Hamas for doing these. They talk about the hostages. I'm sorry, how many have the hostages been murdered by Hamas that they took 301 days ago? Where is that at? Why is it so hard? Why are these aggressors? It's like, I tell you, the way the liberals behave today, Adolf Hitler garner sympathy from American leftists today. When he invaded Poland, oh, he's just elbow room. He just needs some breathing room. That is what basically the left would do, and it's really shameful that these people are siding with America's enemies who have done harm to America. And you can go all the way back to this, basically, I guess, the 60s and 70s, when you had these radical, despotic acts of terror. You had, it didn't start becoming directly attacking. Prior, it was more like American interest. In the 70s and 80s, we got the hijackings. We got the Karachi airport massacre. We got the Berlin discotheque bombings. And it just escalated. You had the Achille Laurel. We've had Flight 007 out of Athens, where all those people were treated to a free trip to Beirut. You had where they killed a Marine on that flight too, if I recall. You have and the gall of the American left saying, "Oh, Israel is the bad guy." I mean, how many more people? I mean, Pan Am flight over Lockerbie, Scotland, which was one of the nails in the coffins of Pan Am, but if you ask the leftists who the bad guys, they'll tell you it's Israel. They'll say America's at fault. No, we're not at fault. They are at fault. They are the bad guys. It is like It is like It is like when a bully gets beaten, and his teeth kicked in. The teacher would know the bully is the reason. Him bullying kids is why his teeth got knocked in. Oh, really?
That's great. I mean, great for Moco, right?
Yeah. Katie Ledecky of Bethesda, congratulations. Her dad owns the Capitals and the Wizards, along with Ted Leonsis and others. But you're right. I mean, the thing is too, is that like Hamas, I mean, if these guys were really interested in any kind of peace process, they wouldn't have held all these hostages for the last 10 months, right? And they wouldn't have killed, how many of them. We don't even know how many of them are still alive. This is not, they're not looking for a peaceful solution. They are looking for the elimination of Israel and the Jews. That's basically it. Yeah. If they were really for peace, the Oslo Accords would have held to this date. But no, they don't want peace. They just want to pause so they can rearm and start everything all over again.
That's why it's important for Israel to maintain some kind of continuous attack on them, because it doesn't allow them to reset, right? Every time we get to this thing, we're going to have negotiations. To me, that's just a ploy so they can just kind of rearm themselves, build, dig more tunnels or whatever and do more things. No, I think you have to kind of keep going after them, be very aggressive so you can put them back on their heels. Israel has no choice but to do the best that they can to eliminate Hamas.
And I think Israel needs to go one step further and also put together a buffer between them and Hamas and the Palestinians, kind of like they've got the Golan's Heights, which is a buffer between them and Syria. They need to do the same thing with Lebanon, Palestine, I'm really impressed that the Jordanians, the Saudis, the Egyptians are not siding with the terrorists. They are standing shoulder to shoulder with Israel. I think the fact that you got intellectuals on college campuses. Basically the rioting we saw when Bibi was speaking at the Capitol, or them shutting down West Virginia Avenue, them shutting down Rock Creek Parkway when Bibi was staying at the Watergate. It is criminal. It's stuff that, you would see in 1930s Germany, frankly. Why didn't the DC police move in, arrest these protesters, and send them packing faster? Why did they let them get to that point? Why didn't they not deploy the National Guard when Bibi was speaking, frankly, at the Capitol? I mean, we were talking off air about Union Station and all the ills of you, but I mean, Union Station, everything, the way they defaced the Liberty Bell, the columns, and Union Station is a beautiful building. It is very well architecturally, very pleasant to look at, and these people totally destroyed it with their graffiti and all that stuff. And it's the blame. There's a lot of blame to go around between the DC police, the mayor, the council, as well as Capitol Hill police. Why did it get to that point? It should have been stomped out in the infancies. It should not have gotten to the point where it exploded the way it did. Frankly, and these are the people that were whining about January 6th. I think this was a lot worse than January 6th, frankly.
Yeah, no, that was a terrible display there that was allowed to go on. It's it should not have happened.
Yeah. And we're at final thoughts, actually, Don. I'll let you go first.
Okay. Well, I will put a public happy birthday out to you, Dwight.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. 52.
Yeah, hope you had a good day. Hope you had a good week.
Yeah.
So it's we all get a little bit older and a little bit grayer, but
yeah,
but we're still out
At least
here.
I can say I still have my hair, which is good. I can say that, which is, yeah, we're at 8 or 3 minutes to 8. Thank you, Don. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're one of our conservative Republican stalwarts. So we appreciate all.
I made it in the political, but this is the first time the political ever had something nice to say about me. It's usually that horrible tweet from Dwight Patel. Dwight Patel praising Spiro Agnew.
Well, hope it's been a good week for you.
It's been.
Couple other things, I guess, is that there was I don't know if it was an Inspector General's report or some report that was done that the EV school buses in Montgomery County have been a complete disaster. It's costing the school system millions of dollars because the buses were delivered late. So then they had to get other diesel buses to replace those buses. There were some mechanical issues with the buses. Nobody's really being held accountable, as far as I can tell, for this. But this is yet another boondoggle, another problem in Montgomery County with how the government is being run. This whole EV and the whole EV mess. They touted this as a way to save a lot of money, and and they were not going to be polluting the air and stuff like that. And it's been a horrid situation for them. So I mean, the county people, whoever was doing this, whether or not it was Elrich and these other guys, they need to pay a price for this, because this is what you and I are paying for with our tax money. Our property taxes are going to go up this year, and we get leadership like this, management like this. This is horrible. We shouldn't have to pay for this at all. Your favorite team, the Orioles,
yes,
doing well. We just had the baseball trade deadline. They made some moves. They didn't make any big moves, but not a lot of teams made a lot of huge moves. So maybe they've done enough to get by and everything like that. I mean, we're here in August, as you said at the beginning of the show, so we still have August and September baseball, and the real test will be, how does the team play in October? Unless the Orioles have a complete collapse, they'll be playing in October, and we'll see how far they go with the team that they've structured. The car registration thing is outrageous. Thank you, Democrats, for that ridiculous increase in car registration. I know it hadn't gone up in 10 or 15 years, but when people are struggling, you're going to everybody who owns a car is going to get affected the same way, whether or not you make a little bit of money, whether or not you make a lot of money. And so the people on the lower end of the scale who are struggling to make their car payments now get socked, with a huge increase in their registration. There was, which reminds me too, is that there was a story in the Wall Street Journal the other day about, because of rising insurance costs, a lot of people are trying to skirt carrying car insurance. Now, a lot of most states don't allow you to do that technically. I mean, they will yank your registration, but there's nothing that prevents them from driving a car. Without people drive without a license when they get the license pulled. That we definitely have people who drive without insurance. There's been plenty of illegals and others who've driven without that, but the rising insurance costs have pushed some people into that area. So probably why, maybe part of this is, we have to drive as carefully as we can, because we don't know if the next driver's actually got the insurance to cover the damage on the car. So hopefully we just stay out of the accident zone completely and don't have to deal with that mess. But that's been another problem, inflation, an area type of thing like that. Inflation has pushed up the cost of car repairs, home repairs, things like that. So the cost of all our insurance has gone up. There was another article that talked about umbrella insurance, right? Umbrella insurance helps cover the extras that the other insurance doesn't cover, like on your car, if something big happens or whatever. But even the cost of umbrella insurance has gone through the roof, because the cost of damages and repair, other things has now, has exceeded the car owner, the car policies and stuff like that. So it's just, we're seeing that, and I do all I can to keep my insurance costs, reasonable. I don't drive a ton and things like that. I agreed to have my driving monitored by USAA, but it's like, even with that, even when they tell you they're giving you these discounts because of other costs, the insurance still goes up. I've never. Did you run that comment there?
No, let me look at it.
Yeah, this is just for anybody like you. If you don't have umbrella insurance and you own a home, even if it's somewhat costly, it's peace of mind in case anything happens. And it does cover you. It can cover a lot of court costs. And if your auto policy, if something, heaven forbid, happens and there's an accident and you reach your coverage limits, the umbrella basically is your backup for that. So anyway, so it's something to think about. Susan mentioned about the MoCo there, how our athletes are doing in Montgomery County. That's great. The U.S. is doing well. I thought about the other day that, it's kind of nice, Dwight, to not have the Russian Soviet Union / Russia, being in the Olympics. We don't know how much doping they would have done anyway. And there's, China's there, and there's still a lot of suspicion. They have that Chinese swimmer that set a record, and the other swimmers won't acknowledge him because they're, they think it's doping, because nobody's been able to set records in that pool in Paris. But anyway, so yeah.
Then you got that man who's boxing with the women.
See, that's a whole nother controversy. It's really interesting, isn't it? I mean, you see all the backlash that they're getting from that. I mean, Sage Steele, who used to work for ESPN and is now free, she left ESPN. And if you see her posts on Twitter X, it just shows how conservative she is, and how she's really standing up for women and women's sports, right? And for which Donald Trump, right, has said that he would ban. What didn't he say? He would ban transgenders from women's sports. So they have a couple of boxers who failed the gender test in our previous boxing matches, but it doesn't apply necessarily to Olympics. but it's obvious that they're bigger, bigger, stronger, and to face off against a female, this is not a fair fight. And one of the people who supports, you know, not having this transgenders in there is, J.K. Rowling, right? The Harry
Mm-hmm.
Potter. So she's gotten a tremendous amount of backlash since she stood up for for real women, real girls. Um, but my kudos to Sage Steele and J.K. Rowling for standing up for that, because this is nonsense. I mean, the, yeah, I'm assuming that you're as bothered by this as I am. That this has no place on the Olympic stage at
Yeah.
all.
I mean, what's stopping Mike Tyson from putting on a wig and saying he's a woman and basically bringing the gold home for America? It's kind of like remember the East German swim teams from the 70s and 80s.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, this is. I mean,
They were a little manly.
Yes, Eric Honecker is looking up from hell and laughing, saying, we didn't even say.
Yeah,
And
I don't know. There's a show on Netflix. It can be somewhat violent at times, but it's called Cleo,
mhm.
and the main characters, her aunt her aunt and uncle are the Honeckers, and this is post, post wall, type of
Uh-huh.
thing. And it's kind of funny. I mean, that part of it, when that part of it came in there, I'm just like, you got to be kidding me. So anyway, all right, that's enough blabbering by me. Go for it.
All right, final thoughts. Couple one things. County Executive Johnny O of Baltimore County, who decided to add an addendum to the caption under former county executive, former governor, former vice president Spiro Agnew's portrait. Well, this week he just got caught with his hands in the cookie jar. I guess he's going to have to do an addendum when they put his portrait up in the county council building as a corrupt, ethically challenged Democrat. Rush Limbaugh used to say when Dan Rather doctored up the George W. Bush flight record papers. He goes, they are becoming what they hate the most. They hated Richard Nixon, and they are becoming Nixonian. Kevin Kamenetz is becoming Spiro Agnew, frankly. Shame on him, and leaving on and things are changing around here at Dr. Politics. We've got some stuff we're working on. This is, let me share. Let me see if I can get this right. Window, there we go. Our logo is changing. And it's going to be animated. You have our EKG running through the words, the animated version of this logo, but that'd be kind of cool. A nice little to have. In addition to that, we are going to have a new opening coming up in September. Stay tuned. New opening, new logo, a lot of new fun stuff happening in September for the show. We've got other final thoughts is the fact that we just celebrated our landing on the moon about a couple weeks ago. July 20th, American ingenuity, American exceptionalism, the reason we got to the moon. And it's that kind of thinking and exceptionalism that's going to get us out of this mess that the Biden-Harris administration has gotten us into with the high inflation, the housing affordability crisis for young people not being able to buy a house, But one thing these young people do, but I will say this with a caveat, a lot of these young people don't understand that the house your parents have that you grew up in last is not the first house they ever bought. The first house they bought was probably about like the first house you can afford right now. You don't start off with a Cadillac, you kind of start with Chevrolet, so to speak. But speaking of Cadillacs and General Motors, General Motors is going to have their first non-EV Hummer in their Hummer line because no one really wants to buy an EV Hummer, so they're going to start. They're also going to put a diesel Hummer, and it's going to be on the Silverado chassis. So that'll be great, I think. And I think that might increase sales. Ford has abandoned EVs. I think it's only a matter of time. By the way, a little trick for all those people who love buying Hondas and Acuras. People who are on the waiting list for the Acura EV that's coming out and are impatient, buy a Cadillac Lyriq. It's the exact same car. Or if you want the Honda EV, buy the Chevy Blazer. Exact same car. And you can get it a lot faster than you get the Honda or the Acura. But that's about it. And EV sales are falling, I think. But that's it for my thoughts. Go internal combustion engines. No power like ice power. There you go. You got the right idea, Susan. And anyways, thanks everyone, and we'll see everyone next week. Good night, all.
All right. Good night.